Hello, everyone. I think we're going to get started. If everyone could start taking a seat, please. And for those of you trickling in with food, please feel free to munch away. Okay, so our topic 2 discussion is going to focus on current treatment options and ideal treatments for alopecia. Similar to how we had our topic 1 discussion, we're going to have 5 topic 2 panelists kick off our discussion. So I'm going to let Katie get started.
Hi, I'm Katie, and I am one of the millions of victims of alopecia. When I was just 10 years old, I was diagnosed with alopecia areata. I began my long road of treatments with a prescribed topical that I used for about 6 months. Following the topical, I began receiving dozens of corticosteroid injections in my scalp every month for 9 months. As my condition progressed and became alopecia totalis, I found myself willing to give it one more shot. So my mom found a specialist in Chapel Hill, and as a last resort, I began on folic acid, methotrexate, and prednisone. However, the methotrexate caused me to be constantly sick, and the prednisone made me tired and lacking energy. For the 3 months that I was on the prednisone, I dragged myself around and slept as much as I could. The 6 months total that I was taking the methotrexate, I was constantly sick and drowsy. This began to affect not only my sports and social life, but my schoolwork as well. I began to think that all of these treatments and their coexisting side effects were simply not worth the slim possibility that one day I might retain some hair growth. Throughout this journey, my parents have been my backbone and outlet of unending support. While they were always there to hold my hand, at the end of the day, they made it quite clear that decisions pertaining to my treatment were ultimately my decision. This experience has forced me to grow up faster than most kids my age. However, it has allowed me to inspire others and impact their lives in ways that I couldn't have if I lived a normal teenage life. I won't sit here and lie to you all, though. Being a teenager without hair is no cakewalk. While it has been a truly humbling experience, I would give anything to get my hair back. Today I use an over-the-counter topical called Rogaine in essential oils. I also wear a wig. An ideal treatment for my lifestyle would consist of something you can do at home, preferably a pill with limited doctor visits so I don't have to miss too much school. My hope is that one day there will be an easily accessible treatment that will result in a well-managed condition. I've never known my condition to be well managed, so to speak. Alopecia is an unpredictable disease. One can never know or predict the extent of its future harm or doings. I live every day with slight hope of a miracle, while also fearing its progression to universalis. I miss the carefree lifestyle that I once lived. I used to wake up every morning, look in the mirror, and not think twice about the fact that I had hair. Everyone I knew had hair, so what made it so special? Well, it was very much so when I began to lose it all. You never truly know what you have until it's gone. One morning I had hair, and the next I was watching it all fall out. This may seem to many as no more than a superficial cosmetic issue. However, I can assure them that they would not think the same if it were them in this state of vulnerability. So, as my time comes to a close, I hope that I made somewhat of a difference in all of your perspectives going forward. While a mere 3 minutes is not even close to enough time to explain the hardships that people with alopecia endure, I sincerely hope that you are all able to get a glimpse of the importance of this disease.
Thank you, Katie. And we have Katie again.
Hello, my name is also Katie, and I am a senior at West Valley High School in Yakima, Washington. 2 months after my 13th birthday in early March of 2013, I began to notice my initial hair loss in the shower after soccer practice. My first visit to my local dermatologist resulted in about 50 cortisone shots to my head and many tears. I also visited my local naturopath and started a gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free diet, as my mom did some research and found that in some cases a clean diet can help encourage regrowth. However, this wasn't the answer for me. As amazing as my local doctors are, they couldn't give me the answers I so desperately needed, as I was in a race against time trying to stop my rapid hair loss. During the summer going into my 8th grade year, my family traveled to Seattle to seek treatment from a doctor at Children's Hospital. She then diagnosed me with alopecia areata, with no treatment plan currently in place that works for all patients. In August, as I was gearing up to start school, my mom, Nana, and I went to travel again to Seattle in search of a wig. I took the first month off of school, quit soccer, and began wearing my wig. I was reluctantly adjusting to my new normal and the new looks my peers gave me as they walked past me in the halls. Going through my 8th grade year, I continued the steroid shots along with multiple different types of vitamins. I traveled to Oregon to seek different opinions from doctors connected to OHSU, but he could not offer me any new advice. In November, my family found a different doctor over in Seattle, claiming he had the latest technology to cure hair loss, and agreed to try the treatment on me. The treatment, called PRP, is commonly used for male pattern baldness, but at this point in time, I was willing to try anything to get my hair back. The treatment consisted of drawing blood, spinning it with nutrients, and then inserting 250 numbing shots around a certain area of my scalp, and ending in 200 deep tissue shots with the new blood. I chose to receive this treatment twice. After no results, we headed back to the drawing board and eventually found out that I was anemic, which is the lack of iron. My family thought that this could possibly give us some sort of relief, as I had maybe 150 hairs still left on my head. I received treatment from my local naturopath, who prescribed me iron infusions weekly. 8 weeks later, I was bursting with energy, but unfortunately still without regrowth. We hit our rock bottom both physically and mentally during the summer of 2014, headed into my freshman year of high school. My dad booked a family trip to the beautiful Rochester, Minnesota, where I visited the well-respected Mayo Clinic. We thought they could give us the type of answers we needed, but after multiple exams, I was prescribed methotrexate, a form of chemotherapy. When first hearing of this, my parents were very reluctant to put a 14-year-old girl on something as invasive as this, but we were left with no other options. Oral pills ended up hurting my stomach horribly, so a month in, we switched to injections, which my mom was kind and brave enough to give me weekly. A year into the treatment, I had maybe 1/4 of an inch growth scattered around my head, but in May of 2015, my dad came in contact with Dr. King in hopes of getting me on a new breakthrough drug. In July, my dad and I made the wonderful journey to New Haven, Connecticut, where I was prescribed Xelgens. 2 months later, we traveled back to visit Dr. King for a checkup with new regrowth of 1.5 inches. It seemed as if my body had all of a sudden knew how to produce hair again and was growing rapidly. The following March, less than a year later, we traveled back to Seattle, but with this time with an appointment scheduled to get my extensions. Xelgens freed me from the prison chains of my wig and gave me a chance to live like a normal teenager. I can now attend sleepovers and swim parties. I can now walk outside without the fear of it being so windy it could catch my wig and pull it off. Although I did not regain my passion for soccer, I am currently a cheerleader at my local high school during my senior year and now can finally feel normal again. It took 6 treatments to find the key, but I am forever grateful for each step of this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. And now we have Tyrone.
Hello, my name is Tyrone Folliard-Olson, and I'm a husband and new father in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've had alopecia areata since I was 13 years old, so for the past 20 years. I've been an advocate for the alopecia areata community since 2013, when the National Alopecia Areata Foundation created the Legislative Liaison Program. My bald spots started out small and sporadic and shifted around my head, but I was able to cover them with hair. In my early 20s, they became larger and more static, and at 23, my bald spots became so large that I had little choice but to shave my head. Over the next 2 years, I lost my eyelashes and eyebrows. I only received treatment for my eyebrows. I don't treat my scalp because of the large surface area that would require treatment and because of the lack of a reasonable treatment, and I don't treat my eyelashes because I'm not aware of any effective treatments. As funny as it may sound, I also miss my facial hair very much, but alopecia makes that impossible. And as the token male, I thought I would say that. In an ideal world, I would be able to fully regrow my scalp hair, eyebrows, eyelashes, and facial hair. That is what the phrase well managed means to me, full hair regrowth. As such, I do not feel as though my alopecia areata is anywhere near well managed. Throughout my teenage years, as we've heard, I also took multiple treatment options for my bald spots on my scalp, including steroid injections and topical creams. The injections, hundreds at a time sometimes, were incredibly painful, but neither the injections nor the creams did much to combat my alopecia. At most, these treatment options stimulated peach fuzz over a period of many months, which was nowhere near the outcome that I was seeking. Over time, I stopped using any treatment as they were not effective and the injections were not worth the pain. The natural ebb and flow of my alopecia did far more to regrow hair than either of these treatments. At 23, as my bald spots became unmanageably large, I came to terms with shaving my head and being bald. I had the luxury of being a man in a society that deems this aesthetic acceptable, so luckily it wasn't too difficult to transition. However, when I lost my eyebrows, I was devastated. For me, I saw my eyebrows as the last defining feature on my otherwise bald head. After a couple years of struggling with no eyebrows, I happened upon a treatment option through an old acquaintance, and I began receiving monthly Kenalog injections in my eyebrows. I have since received eyebrow injections every month for the past 8 years. These injections work moderately well. On average, the injections allow me approximately 75% of my eyebrows, although my eyebrow hair continues to fall out and regrow in unexpected patterns. I continue to have patchy eyebrows, which for me is far from ideal. The injections are quite painful. The monthly dermatology appointments are an inconvenience, and without good health insurance, I likely wouldn't be able to afford the monthly injections. But for me, all of that is worth it in order to maintain some semblance of eyebrows. As a side note, my eyebrows are currently more full than they've been in years. My hope is to one day have the ability to regrow and maintain hair that is lost in an effective, painless, inexpensive, and relatively quick manner. I hope to one day have eyebrows, eyelashes, and facial hair. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. And now Andrea.
Hello. So I have had alopecia areata in some form as a result of my autoimmune disease since I was about 4 years old. Most of my childhood, it was just alopecia areata, and at the time, I was lucky to have thick, curly hair to hide most of the spots. And with the spots that we couldn't hide, me and my mother slowly worked down the line of topical treatments that were offered by our dermatologists. First, it was Rogaine, then on to ascorbic acid, and once I got to middle school, it was leaving class every month to drive to the Cleveland Clinic excuse me, to get corticosteroid injections. Did any of these treatments actually work? They may have for a time, but really, what's the point of treating a spot you have when it does nothing to prevent the spot that comes next? It feels like a game of cat and mouse that we were constantly playing until it got too hard to keep up. By the time I was 14, I had lost nearly all my hair, and hiding it was no longer an option. At this point, we traded in topical treatments for an internist, a long list of supplements, a thyroid medication, highly restrictive diet, and of course, antidepressants. And I say of course because the mental health effects of alopecia I had on me were more detrimental than the alopecia itself. I cannot express to you how much developing alopecia totalis delivered a blow to my self-esteem, my self-image, and my ability to focus on schoolwork as a teen. Even as an adult, it has had a fundamental effect on my personality and the way I carry myself in public. Over the course of my youth, I've gone to multiple dermatologists, holistic doctors, endocrinologists, internists, therapists, and others I can't even remember. All of them had different methods of treatments, but frankly, it seemed like the method was to throw any idea they had at the wall and to see what would stick. And nothing ever really did. Any hair that may have grown would eventually just fall out again after a couple of months. By the time I started high school, wearing a wig was the only real solution we had left. There was no more managing my alopecia. As far as I'm concerned, you cannot manage alopecia any more than you can manage the weather, and all you can do is prepare for it. Looking back, treating my alopecia with topical treatments feels like a total waste of time to me. At least with a wig, I know it's going to be there every day. Am I happy about this solution? Not at all. Wearing a wig has its own laundry list of issues and inefficiencies that I could list here as well. So many, in fact, that it had actually compelled me to produce a documentary about it, which my sisters are currently filming for me as we speak. But at the end of the day, I believe the only treatments that I would even consider using are ones that treat the autoimmune cause of alopecia, not just the effects of it. Everything else is just a Band-Aid.
Thank you, Andrea. And now we have Gracie.
I already cried so much today. I thought I wouldn't cry anymore when my time came, but I don't think it's gonna happen. And I was very afraid to be the first, but now I see I'm even more overwhelmed to be the last one. So I want to thank everybody first, because I think everybody that came before me today couldn't have talked any better and expressed everything that I felt. I'm newly married.
Continue the medication, and the result was that in a couple of weeks, the alopecia areata went to totalis and later to universalis. On my experience, all these treatments I tried had the same downsides. The medication did not prevent new hair loss from developing. It became ineffective after a while and was at least very uncomfortable, but the majority was very super painful. At this point in time, I was dealing with alopecia about 8 years. I was traumatized and depressed. To be honest, the emotional toll it took on me was harder than the actual treatment. So I decided I would rather go bald and learn to live with that instead. I bought a wig and move on. I did not did not seek any treatment for 11 years. But recently, through a friend, a mutual friend that I have on Facebook, and I started seeing her some pictures and asking her what she was doing. And I learned about the Zeljax. I'm being on the treatment with Zeljax with Dr. Kim for 4 months. And for the first time, I have hope again that I'll have my hair back. I never been without wig in front of anybody that I did not know. But I'm very sad. And I want to share with everybody, with the community. I see 6% of my hair is growing. My brows are coming back under the tattoo that's now is kind of out of place. Seems silly, but I couldn't be any happier that my eyelashes are back. My eye feels protected, and I feel like sexy again because I can. I'm very lucky because I was pretty healthy throughout the whole process. Aside of alopecia, I didn't have any other major symptoms, and the medication has no side effects for me so far. And that was a very important point for starting the medication again. I did not want to go for any treatments that was painful, that would hurt me, or that would make me more sick than the alopecia was. For me, the main downside from the treatment that I'm going now is that currently the medication is not approved by FDA for alopecia. So get the health insurance to pay for it is a hassle. Of course, it's very expensive. They don't want to pay for it. It's not approved. I hope the research community keep investing and studying to keep people suffering from this heartbreaking condition to get better. This medication I'm on, or anyone need treatment, there is a huge community. We need new treatments. We need new hope. We need to get better. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you to all of our topic 2 panelists. I think you guys have really illustrated what treating alopecia is like today and really highlighted the unmet medical need, both in the pediatric and young adult population as well as the adult population today. One thing that Andrea said that really resonated with me was that, and I'm going to have to paraphrase here and feel free to jump in on your mic, was that you said it's managing your alopecia is like managing weather. You can't. So you can only work around it. Is that? Prepare for it. Yes, exactly. How many of you feel like that in the room? Okay. Oh, I want to say 100 hands up in the air maybe for those on the web. Oops, sorry. Thank you. Okay. So let's jump into one polling question. So similar to topic 1, I'm going to ask, kind of parse apart the pediatric and young adult responses from the adult. So first, for the pediatric and young adults, have you ever used any of the following drug therapies or medical devices to treat your alopecia areata? So currently or in the past, and please feel free to check all that apply. A, topical corticosteroids. B, injectable corticosteroids. C, oral corticosteroids. D, other topical treatments such as minoxidil, Rogaine, Enthralin, immunotherapy such as diphenylprone, DPCP. E, immunomodulatory therapies such as Xeljanz or Jakafi. F, light treatment such as laser or phototherapy. G, other prescription medicines such as psychiatric or pain medication. H, other drug therapies or medical devices not mentioned. And I am not using any drug therapies or medical devices. As you're responding, I do want to give you a brief mini agenda for the rest of the afternoon. We are going to be talking a little bit about the drug therapies and medical devices now, but there is a question after this for the non-drug therapies as well. We are very much interested to see what else you're supplementing your management approaches with, such as dietary modifications and so forth. And then we'll be wrapping the discussion after talking a little bit about the downsides with a hypothetical clinical trial scenario as well. And so that's when I'm really going to ask all of you what's most important to you as well. Okay, so let's take a look at these results. We have 89% topical corticosteroids, followed by 63% for other topical treatments. Following topical, we just have a very nice range of approaches that have been tried in the room. H, 41% for other drug therapies or medical devices. So after the adults have a chance to take this question as well, we'll definitely come back, and I'm interested in hearing what those other drug therapies or medical devices may be. Could we ask the adults the same question now, please? So adults in the room, have you ever used any of the following drug therapies or medical devices to treat your alopecia areata? Once again, please check all that apply. Okay, slightly varying results from the pediatric and young adult population. So we have 77% for both topical and injectable corticosteroids, followed by D, other topical treatments, and then 41% for oral corticosteroids, 36% for other prescription medicines such as psychiatric or pain medication. Okay, thank you all. So let's start with the topical medications, and I'm going to kind of lump the topical corticosteroids with option D, the other topical treatments. And I think from the panelists, we've heard a range of benefits that they've seen from these topical treatments. We heard that there was no benefit at all, that they didn't see any results. Some mentioned that they saw some fuzzy hair, I think, so very minimal. And then other folks said that they saw results for a limited amount of time, so for a short time, and then no effect again. So I'm really interested to see if folks in the audience have other experiences that can kind of expand upon this, on this concept.
Hi, my name is Julia, and I was diagnosed with patchy alopecia probably about 5 years ago. And I used topical, injectable, and other topical treatments such as Rogaine, probably for about 2 years. And then one day I just said, I'm not doing anything else. This is it. I'm not doing another injection. And at that point, I started to...
Sorry, Julia, would you mind just holding your mic a little?
Sure. Thank you. I started to accept my diagnosis. I decided no more treatment. I decided to use it as a tool to help other individuals. Fabrics and scars, which was a lifesaver for me. I started a project where I teach individuals how to wrap their heads with fabrics and scars. And for me, it has been the greatest uplifting thing that I've done for myself. And I feel confident, I feel happy, but I know the journey that everyone in this room that is affected by the disease. I'm not saying it's been easy, but I've tried to overcome. So I just wish the best for everybody, that you find your good place. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you. I think we have a comment over here.
Hi, my name is Ruth, and I have a 10-year-old daughter, Bailey, right here. My daughter was diagnosed with alopecia areata right before her 3rd birthday. It was terrifying. I had hoped that it was ringworm. of course, took her to the dermatologist who first prescribed topical steroids and the Topic. We were on it for 3 months, no effect at all. As a matter of fact, her hair continued to fall out. Then I read about Richard Strick, who used to be on the medical advisory board for NAF. So at that time, we lived in LA. I took my daughter to UCLA to see him. And he told me about an topical immunotherapy chemical agent that he was using very successfully since the 1970s. It's called DNCB, dinitrochlorobenzene. Again, not approved by the FDA. Controversial, I think. I think there's a lot of parents through the years who have told me that it's possibly carcinogenic. It failed the Ames test, but so did Selsun Blue shampoo. And during that first episode where my daughter lost about 40–50% of her hair in the ophiasis pattern, within 3 months, she regrew her hair. She had a full head of hair. For 7 years, we just dealt with patchy hair loss, and we continued to use the DNCB. When we stop using the DNCB, the hair loss continues, and it gets bigger. In the last 9 months, we recently moved to New York. We moved to New York fall 2014. But in the last 9 months, my daughter, once again, started losing over 75% of the hair on her head. We increased the use of DNCB, and it's, as most people know, it is a form of topical immunotherapy. It causes severe itching. I don't think there's ever been a night in my daughter's life that she hasn't experienced an itch on her head. The effects have not been as severe as what many have probably read about, blistering and pus. I think I've just learned how to use it and to toggle it. I've become the DNCB expert. But it would be nice for my daughter to have some form of therapy where the hair will just stay and that she doesn't have to scratch her head for every day of her life. So that's been our experience with DNCB.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. We received a few panel comment summaries about this treatment as well. Another quick raise of hands question for you, and let me say it before, let me lay it out a little bit. So I'm hearing two different kinds of meaningful benefit. I'm hearing folks that would see a stop in progression, so they just don't lose more hair as a meaningful benefit. Are there folks in the room that would agree that that is a meaningful, just if you're taking a treatment and it just what you have is what you have? No, I'm seeing people saying no, that is not meaningful benefit. So meaningful benefit would be regrowth. Yes, and now I'm seeing, for folks on the web, I'm seeing a lot of head nodding up and down. Okay, great. So quickly to go back to the pediatric and young adults, we had, I think it was around 40%, testing my memory here, that said that mentioned other drug therapies or medical devices. I think we heard one so far. Are there other drug therapies and medical devices that folks are trying? I think we have Mega up here. And I will just like to highlight that if it's non-drug therapies such as diet changes and so forth, we do have a polling question to get a little bit into that. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I did something called Ayurvedic treatment. It's an Indian treatment. I spent over a month in India inside a hospital. And so what it did was, like, they gave me medicine. I was like on a strict diet. I wasn't allowed to get exposed to the sun. I had to stay in the hospital. And like it was a really, they had like different things where you had to be massaged in oils and stuff that was supposed to help like circulate things in your body. And then they had a lot of different things. But like all in all, it was really hard because I was only 9 years old when I went through it. And I barely could eat anything. I couldn't go outside, and I literally couldn't do anything. And the medicine was like so bad, I couldn't even eat it. There was days where they said you can't eat anything until like literally the end of the day. And it was hard because it's not something a kid should do. Like, we tried because there was some experience. A lot of people said it worked for them. It didn't work for me, but it was a really hard experience, all in all. But yeah.
Thank you, Mega. Thank you. That's really helpful. One other, the medical devices. We didn't really hear any comments thus far about folks who have tried light treatments such as laser phototherapy. Has anyone in the audience tried this treatment and willing to share an experience, perhaps? Okay, perfect.
Actually, I wasn't going to talk about the light treatment, but I can.
And you can talk about the other thing you wanted to talk about as well.
Well, I can talk about light also because we've tried that too. My name is Guru. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I have a 7-year-old, 8-year-old daughter now, Mia. She got alopecia when she was 2 years old. And like Megha, we're also from India. And as a 2-year-old and someone from India, anytime anybody sees, especially folks, grandparents or other relatives, sees a child with no hair or hair falling off, everybody's got some kind of advice, some kind of oil that they have used, and they want to, treat them with Ayurveda or homeopathy, or, they know one doctor in this particular city in India who's treated this in the past successfully and so on. So for the first 1-2 years when she had these conditions, we've gone through a series of different things that we wanted to try. Ayurveda was one. It wasn't as, I'm sorry, Megha, for what you had to go through. It wasn't as much as what she mentioned, but there were some kind of oils that we tried, some oral medicines, and then homeopathy was another thing that we tried for maybe 2-3 months. We didn't see any results. Light treatment was something that we tried one time. This was with one of the dermatologists in India. I forget what it was. It was either UVB or UVA or one form of light treatment that was applied on one spot on my daughter's head one time. It severely blistered her scalp, and we just stopped it after that. Yeah, so I would say, and probably many parents might relate to this. As a parent who's exposed to this for the first time, you hear a lot of different things, and you want to try and fix this. As a parent, I felt, both my wife and I, very helpless that we're not able to do something to our daughter whose hair just was falling off every day for a period of 1 year. So we went through a lot of different things that we tried, and we're now for the last 4 years or 5 years, are not doing any drug therapies. We do some other things, and we can talk about it.
Sure.
I'll be open to talk about it during that time. Thanks.
Great, thank you, thank you. So one other question for folks in the room. How long do you try a treatment before you decide that there's an effect or no effect? That hand went really quickly.
I think I could, good afternoon. I'm a parent of a young boy that has alopecia areata universalis. He was first diagnosed at the age of 12. I had brought him to Hopkins, was told it would be highly unlikely that it would progress to universalis. Within 6 months it did. So to answer your question, for the last almost 5 years, we've tried A through H. And we almost systematically would think, well, what is the trigger? Is it a lack of vitamin D? Is it histamine levels? Is it fungal? So we would try different approaches, whether it be topical cortisone, the cortico shots, or we would try Chinese medicine, we did acupuncture, we did yoga, we did diet, we did gluten, we did everything. I then petitioned Pfizer for a hardship case, and we tried the JAK inhibitor 1, 2, and 3 drug for Xeljanz. And for 5 years, this was a little boy who wouldn't sing, who wouldn't ride his bike, who just got the lead for Hamilton, the school show, because he has hair, because of the Xeljanz. So I did try everything over a 5-year period, as scientifically and as accurately as I could, eliminating things, focusing just on what we thought his trigger was. We're really no longer interested in what his trigger is or was. Is it stress? Again, is it a lack of a vitamin? Was there some traumatic event? We don't know, and at this point, we don't really care. We just have a little boy who's singing again on stage because he's got hair.
If I could
Thanks.
just a clarifying question. I know you mentioned that you've tried A through H in 5 years. I know this is a little bit of a difficult question to put you on the spot, but would you mind parsing apart, like maybe how many months perhaps you may have tried like the topical story, like kind of giving a little bit background, and if that was a decision you as and your
I
loved
let
ones-
him lead this.
Okay.
It's really important, I believe. A child at 3 or 4 cannot, but a child at 12 who's trying to build his identity is. I also, before I get down to E, I want to say that my son Charlie knows that he may not be on the Xeljanz forever. He does understand that there are risks involved. But if it gives him time to build from the inside out his confidence, he's willing to do it. So when he was first diagnosed, we started with the topical shots, and that was for about 6 months. It worked. He had about 8 patches in the back. He also had the ophiasis, which a woman was saying over here your daughter has, and that's the hardest to treat. That was the last, that was the most stubborn part. We didn't really get a great response there, but the shots did work for about 6 months. For about a year, everything was fine, nothing happened. Very suddenly, then he started losing his hair again. Within 3 months, he lost his eyelashes, his eyebrows, and every hair everywhere. So the injectable shots, I would say, at that point, we tried for 6 months, it's enough. We did do the Rogaine when the hair was back in. So we had stopped the injections, but we thought almost prophylactically to use the Rogaine. Did it work? I don't think so. The Xeljanz, Charlie has had an incredible response. We also went to Yale Dermatology, and he has got the vellus hairs all over his body. He responded very quickly, and it's been now 4 months.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One more comment, I think, back here.
Hi, my name is Katie. I'm 35. I live in DC. I originally got alopecia areata in my mid to late 20s, where I lost my eyebrows and my eyelashes. The dermatologist, I did the injections in my eyebrows, which helped them grow in patches. And at that point, I was using makeup to fill in my eyebrows, and it just kind of got annoying when there was just patches and I kind of had to fill it in, and it made it more obvious than just with no hair and the makeup. I've since gotten the microblading and love it. Highly recommend if you can afford it. I then started getting patches. So I had the topical creams, Rogaine, the cream somebody else was talking about where it turns everything brown and it burns and you have to like work your way up to 10 minutes. And that I probably used for maybe I made it 3 months, but it just A, nothing ever happened, and B, it just, you had to put rubber gloves on to put it on. It stained everything. It smelled. So that wasn't worth it to me, especially since there was no results. With the eyebrows, again, I probably went every 4 to 6 weeks to my dermatologist for those. Rogaine I used for probably about 6 months, but at that point, I think is when the rest of my hair started falling out. And then at that point, I think I knew that it was just more work and more emotional work to have the treatments when I wasn't seeing any results. I don't even think I had any response to the injections in my scalp either. So anyway, I found no treatment was the best path for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm hearing 6 months and less, basically.
Sure. Sorry, one more thing. With treatments in the future, if there are things that seem to work better, for me, it's not going to be a win or something I'll even consider trying if the most I'm going to get is 50% of my hair back. I think even 75%, I would really have to think hard about it. I'm really going to not try anything unless it's like 90% or more of my hair scalp on my head.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a really important point. And we actually have a scenario question that's going to tease that apart, I think. Though we will have to adjust the scenario question based on what you just told us already. I'd like to turn to the web really quick and see what our polling results for this question look like on the web, Shannon.
So we have a lot of similarities in terms of we had some comments that are seeking treatment beyond the cosmetic portions of the disease and that really get to the causes. A lot of discussion about use of topical and essential oils as well as injections. A lot of people related to the comment of this being a cat and mouse game in regards to treatment. And we did get one comment in regards to use of a medical device called a laser cap as well.
Thank you, Shannon. Could we have our next polling question, please? And so let's take a look at some of these non-drug therapies. So I didn't tease this one apart. This is for everyone in the room, pediatric, young adults, and adults. Besides the therapies that we've already mentioned, what else are you doing to manage any symptoms or manifestations you experience because of your alopecia areata? So for this question, you can check all that apply. A, temporary cosmetic measures such as a wig, hat, hair weave, makeup, the microblading that we've heard about. B, cosmetic procedures such as hair transplants or permanent makeup. Just kidding, let's throw the microblading into B. C, dietary and herbal supplements. D, diet modifications. E, over-the-counter products. F, complementary or alternative therapies. G, other therapies not mentioned. H, I am not doing or taking any therapies to treat my alopecia areata. And right, so this is for the pediatric population, the young adults in the room, as well as the adults. This is for everyone. Yes. Okay, so 71% of you are using temporary cosmetic measures such as wigs, hats, weaves, or makeup to manage your alopecia. And then we have a nice range for all of the other options as well. 47% for dietary and herbal supplements, which we've heard a lot about the diet changes, similar to D in diet modifications. F, we have the complementary and alternative therapies. I think we heard a little bit about the Ayurveda, which I think this falls under this bucket here. 24% who are saying that I'm not doing or taking any therapies to treat my alopecia. 26, over-the-counter products, and then 22% are the cosmetic procedures. Thank you. We do find it interesting to learn about this to see what you guys are supplementing your medical product approaches with. So I'll take a couple of minutes to ask you all, what kind of benefits are you seeing from these that you're not seeing from your medical products, such as your drug therapies or your light treatments, for example? Few hands went up. So what kind of benefits are we seeing here?
My daughter Mia had alopecia, got it. I don't even know what you call it. We're still new to this. It hasn't been a year yet. We started off with the injections, and then we found out her thyroid levels were out of the park on different scales or whatever. Went to go see an endocrinologist, and he was Irish, so his accent just made everything sound better for what he said. Not even gonna lie, I was just like, ooh. Him telling her that she was freaking beautiful just made me cry. And for him to tell her that, you know, these injections you're doing might be good for you, but you can also maybe be infertile, and all this other stuff just really made us think about it, like, is her hair worth that? And so that was where we switched over to, you know, the biotin and the vitamins. And there's different organizations that give wigs free to kids for, you know, X amount of time. And so she has a wig. She chooses to wear it when she wants to wear it. It's an accessory just like her different glasses, and I love that. And so that's how we decided was, you know, what were the consequences or the side effects of what the medicine was, you know, compared to, you know, maybe these vitamins will help. You know, somebody told her, wash your hair upside down, rub your head, do this. So we're trying these things that I know won't cause other problems. And so that's why we did it. And, you know, we love her. And the big thing that I wanted to say before, she recently broke up with her boyfriend, which is okay, whatever. But when his mom told me that he thought that they would get married and, you know, that kind of thing, it just made me cry because I knew that somebody would love her without hair. And I just needed to know that as a parent. And it just made me think that, okay, I didn't need to make her take these injections, which we can't stand needles. We are not all these injections in her head and everything else. I didn't have to do that. Somebody else would love her as much as we did. So that's why we went this way. Is it making a difference? Probably not, but it is what it is. That's how we're looking at it.
Thank you. I think Rosie and Rosie's mother would like to.
Hi, I'm Paula Quinn from Chicago. My daughter's Rosie. So she was diagnosed at 2.5. And I remember we went to see this fabulous pediatric dermatologist, and we're asking, what is it? How do we stop it? And he says, do you have a crystal ball? And I said, actually, I don't. Where do I find one? So at that point, we did the topicals for a year. And then Rosie said, you know what, Mom? I like being bald. I'm okay with this. She's like, are you okay? And I'm like, if you're okay, I'm okay. So we're the 24% that's just kind of focusing on her confidence, her inner soul, because that's what's going to carry her through life. Hair, wig, headscarf, therapies. I think we're as a parent, we didn't want to drug her up and give her shots in the head. We just want her to be a good person and feel good about herself and love herself. And she's teaching us about being Rosie and being a happy little girl. So, and she wants to say something. She's the better talker. So here you go.
Hello, my name is Rosie, and I have a little things to say to you about the medicine that we're gonna have the FDA make for us. So I ask that they make safe medicine for kids to take, and I hope that it's edible and and that you can mix it with chocolate sauce. But
Thank you, Rosie. I don't think anyone else could have described a more ideal treatment. I love chocolate as well. One more comment and then, okay, yes.
Rosie, I think Harrison would agree with you too, especially the chocolate sauce part. I wanted to share this with you all. So as a caregiver, a parent to a child with alopecia, these are the notes that I've taken today in blue ink. This is showing our level of desperation. We will do anything for our kids to try to take this pain away. And the pain, in addition to the autoimmune, that you're right, we have to solve the autoimmune first. But as a caregiver, it's the pain that we are so afraid of for our kids. And that know in this room, if you are a child with alopecia, we mean it as a mom and as a dad when we say we would take this on in a second if we could take it away from you. Because it is awful as a parent to observe. But as you hear these laundry list of therapies, and as a psychologist, I will tell you, this sounds nothing different than what we were dealing with in the 20s and the 30s with depression. The willingness people would go through to try things that today sound ridiculous, to try to solve a problem. We are willing to go through those lengths. We consider putting needles in our children's head and listening to them scream. We consider the opportunity that perhaps they will never have a child of their own because it might take away the pain. When I listed off for this panel discussion all of the things we have tried for Harrison over the years, I was actually embarrassed to show the list to my husband because I knew he would look at some of those as nothing short as witchcraft. But those are the things we're willing to try. Those are the things we're willing to go to. Someone in my city actually suggested that we leave Atlanta where we've lived our whole lives and move to Sarasota because they knew somebody who had alopecia, and when they went to Sarasota, alopecia went away. Talk about a non-traditional therapy. Just move. Maybe it's the pollution. Maybe it's the antibiotic I took. Maybe it's all those things when I was pregnant that I did to cause this, but we are desperate. And there are a lot of malicious people out there who are willing to take advantage of our vulnerability. And it is those people that we have got to get the word out to as well. that it is not tolerable to send your child to India. These people did the best they could for their child. Whoever takes these people in and says, yes, we can fix this for you, those people need to be shut down. It is not acceptable to allow these kids to be tortured and take our money. You guys have got to take the lead and make the word known what it is to have alopecia, what will work, what will not work, and what will not be acceptable in this country for treatment for kids.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. I think we'll take one final comment up here from Chris, and then I want to move on to the next polling question.
I just wanted to say, not like we're having a note off or anything, but these are the amount of notes that I've taken. My name is Chris. My wife is Jen. You heard from her earlier. I'm her cheerleader. Jen has had 5 open heart surgeries, yet I looked at her for the first time in actual pain as they injected steroids into her eyebrows that she lost recently. Skipping all of the things that she's tried and have not worked, one of the most interesting things that we're dealing with right now is she met a new dermatologist. He was previously the chief of residency for dermatology at the Mayo Clinic, and somehow he landed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And after talking about a couple things, he said, you know, I can see that this is expanding and expanding and expanding, and I think that we have to find a way to try and actually stop this. So that was the first time she had been in remission for 2 years, and it was the first time we had heard about JAK inhibitors. And so he mentioned that we should look into Xeljanz. Having a heart disorder, trying the other immunosuppressants are dangerous because she has an artificial valve, and she's at high risk of infections. And her cardiologist is even game to try Xeljanz just because the risk profile is so much lower. She'll still have to be monitored. But so we started the process to get Xeljanz, and her insurance, this is kind of where it gets back to the panel. The insurance company said, actually, what we would like you to do is try methotrexate, and the one that starts with an L I was trying to remember, which is like really dangerous. And because Xeljanz is not approved for alopecia areata, and as you know, nothing is. So we're at this crossroads now. An interesting thing is, one workaround may be the fact that I'm sort of a geek, and I noticed that methotrexate and the L one have contraindications for 5 of the other medications that she had to start taking for anxiety and depression since starting to have alopecia areata. That could be our workaround to get a prior auth for the Xeljanz. There are no side effects that are immediately noticeable that her dermatologist thinks compared to the prednisone or any of the other things we've tried. So I think it's really important for us to have an FDA-approved medications, not just for the practical use, but for the financial as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. I think you've raised several really important points. I would like to just keep in mind that we do want to focus our conversation on treatments more broadly. This isn't necessarily the most appropriate platform to talk about one specific medical product. I think we have a couple more comments. Okay.
My name is Ebony. I am a legislative liaison for the National Alopecia Areata Foundation, and I'm from Michigan. I was diagnosed with alopecia areata at the age of 4, began wearing wigs at the age of 9. So I've had alopecia for 22 years now. I've been wearing wigs for 15 years. There has been a lot of talk about different medications being developed, trying to bring back lost hair follicles and things like that. And just watching myself go through this entire process, and even so watching my mother have to see me suffer as a young kid. I've been through a lot as a child. Not only have I gone through hospitalizations with asthma and other autoimmune diseases, but I've gone through the bullying, I went through the teasing, kids snatching off my wig in school, snatching off my hats on the school bus heading home. And a lot of these teachers don't do anything about the kids who are being bullied when they have to wear head coverings. That's one thing that really irritates me is when you get into these schools, they enforce all of these ridiculous dress codes. Now I understand to a certain degree, there are some children who will try it. They will push you to your limits to where they wear stuff that's inappropriate. But if you have a child who cannot help their condition, if you have somebody who cannot help what they're going through, why would you make things more difficult for them? My mom would have to visit these schools each and every single year, explaining to these officials why I'm going through this and what she's going through as a parent. I wish she was here right now. She couldn't make it this weekend. But just to sit here in the gap for so many young people, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to do something about this because I really want to see our kids happy. You don't go to school to get bullied. You go to school to get an education, and it is up to the parents to educate their children before getting to school that there are other children who have different conditions that separate them from all the other kids. Education does not start at school. It starts at home. And it's all about getting into your children's business and learning exactly what they're doing, understanding why they're doing it, and tell them that it's not fair and it's not right. And even get into these schools and explain the same thing to them because these officials, some of them helped me, some of them did work with me and my mom, but the rest of them just basically gave me hell for no reason, all because I looked different. I started wearing wigs very early, and it was very hard to adapt because I constantly dealt with rejection and people just giving me a hard time for no reason. I come from a small city, so everyone assumed that I had cancer because I wore wigs. And in fact, the disease cancer by itself doesn't cause hair loss. It's the medicine and the chemotherapy. And I wish people would understand that because this autoimmune disease, we can't help that. Like we're not sick, we just can't grow hair. I've tried topical creams, I've tried topical shampoos, and they smell really, really bad. They didn't do anything for me as far as growing my hair back, but hopefully you guys are able to develop something where we can't have our hair in its entirety. The last time I saw it I was just 15 years old. It fell out for the final time, and honestly, I'm okay with it. If it comes back, okay. If not, I'm perfectly fine with it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that point. Okay, one more because Sarah's giving me her please face.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm from Boston, and I just wanted to say that I've had alopecia since I was 2 years old, and I've tried many different treatments. And in the past 2 years, I started taking Xeljanz with Dr. King, and I've had total hair regrowth on my body except for my head, and it has completely changed my life.
Thank you for sharing that, Ben.
We did try a few other things when he was younger, but as a lot of you have said, they're painful. And as a parent, I let it be in my control until he was old enough to speak up. And I couldn't put my children through pain for something that really didn't help. So the Xeljanz is the only thing that has actually helped us.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think I kind of want to move to the next polling question. And so this one, we did parse it apart separately for pediatric and young adults. And I think it's going to cement some of the concepts that we've already been hearing a little bit so far this afternoon. So for the pediatric and young adults in the room, for the therapies that you use, what do you consider to be the most burdensome downsides? And so for this, please choose up to 3 answers. A, how the medication is administered, such as a topical cream or an injection. B, difficulty in accessing treatment, for example, insurance. C, the treatment only provides minimal benefit. D, the treatment is effective only for a short term. E, change in the texture or color of my hair. F, bothersome side effects of the treatment. G, concern about serious risks of the treatment. H, uncertainty about long-term effects of the treatment. I, other downsides not mentioned. Okay, a very wide range here. So 51% highlighted difficulty in accessing treatment, for example, insurance, as one of the most burdensome downsides, followed by C, the treatment only provides minimal benefit. And then A, how the medication is administered, such as topical cream or an injection. And we've heard downsides for both the cream and the injection so far this afternoon, followed by 39% for uncertainty about long-term effects of treatment. That's very interesting as well. And then we had folks who indicated treatment is effective only for a short term, as well as concern about serious risks of the treatment. Thank you. Could we ask the adults the same question, please? So for the adults in the room, for the therapies that you use, what do you consider to be the most burdensome downsides? You can choose up to 3 answers for this question. Okay. Different results, that's for sure, but I'm going to have to go back and forth to compare. My memory is not that good. B, 64% for difficulty in accessing treatment. So that was one of the most burdensome that we heard in the pediatric and young adult population as well. Followed by 52% for the treatment only provides minimal benefit. Okay. Followed by 40% for both the treatment is effective only for a short term, and H, uncertainty about long-term effects of treatment. So I think one of the top 3 from the young adult and pediatric, which is A, how the medication is administered, is not as much of a burdensome downside in the adult population, if I remember that correctly. And then we had 0% for E, which is change in the texture or color of your hair. That's interesting and good for us to know as well. Okay, I think we could easily talk about this for a very long period of time, this question itself, but in the interest of time, I'm going to ask all of you for a favor. Please note this question down. It's very much of interest to us, but then please go to the public docket that we've been talking about throughout the afternoon and tell us a little bit more about why you selected what you did for your most burdensome downsides. I think some of the concepts and topics we've heard so far have hinted at it, but any examples and specific experiences that you can share with us would be really helpful. Really quickly on the web for this question, what are we seeing on the web?
Very similar results to in the room. We had about 31% talking about how the medication is administered, 62% for difficulty in accessing treatment, and between 30 and 50% for the other responses.
Okay, thank you. So yes, please, please, please expand upon this question in the public docket responses. I do want to make sure that we have enough time to discuss our scenario question, which I think is on the next slide. So this is a purely hypothetical scenario that our planning group put together. I'm going to read it out loud, and we just really want to hear what your first thoughts are that are coming to your mind, what kind of follow-up questions you may ask. Is this something that you would try? Would you participate in this clinical trial, for example? So imagine that you have been invited to participate in a clinical trial to study an experimental treatment for alopecia areata. Your doctor believes that you may be a good candidate for this medication. This experimental treatment is a weekly self-injection. Early research in animals and people show that this treatment may reduce patchy hair loss on the scalp by up to 30% in some people. The purpose of this study is to better understand how well this treatment works and its safety. More common side effects of this therapy may include fatigue, headaches, weight gain, sore throat, and gastrointestinal issues. Rare but more serious side effects may include liver problems, cancer, stroke, infertility, or birth defects. This clinical study will last 18 months, and clinical visits will occur every month for the first 12 months, and once every 2 months in the remaining 6 months. Visits will involve routine blood work. So what are some of the first thoughts that are coming to your mind as you hear this scenario? Not as many hands went up this time. I think I have Rob up here.
I think the only thing we're all thinking is 30%? You're going to get 30%? Without any side effects, I wouldn't take part in it. I don't know.
I think that's helpful, and I think we heard some participants who said it would have to be at least 90%, I think, is what we heard earlier. Okay. A few other comments from folks.
Coming at the
comment right here.
I think it's a, oops. I still think it's a risk benefit analysis. 50% doesn't do it for me. I don't want half of my head covered with hair. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's not going to look good.
Okay.
It's got to be much bigger. And the questions I would ask my doctor are the rare but serious side effects. Quantify that for me.
Okay.
Is it liver disease in 1 of a million, or is it 100,000 in a million?
Those are really great questions. Let me see. One thing that you said that really resonated with me is that you said half of the hair came back on your scalp. What if, I don't know if this is scientifically possible, but say that the regrowth was your eyebrows, 50% of your eyebrows. Would that make a difference? The location of where the hair regrowth is? No? Okay. Sorry, 50%. No half eyebrows. Okay. And I'm okay. And I have a feeling it's going to be similar for eyelashes as well. But let's take a few comments to see. I think we have one hand back there. And then I'll change the scenario question once more. We'll eventually get there.
Hi, my name's Diana Smith. I'm a support contact and a legislative liaison with NAF. And I got alopecia when I was 5 years old. I think a lot of the resistance here is that you still have to somehow manage yourself 50% hair loss. You know, if you got 1 eyebrow instead of 0, that's still drawing on 1 in the morning. That still hasn't made a drastic change in your self-management of the disease. And that's not the ultimate goal for me of treatment. And I feel like a lot of people would agree with that. So.
Okay. And for those on the web, there's hand clapping and a lot of head nodding up and down. I will change the second paragraph, second sentence once more. Let's try it. Early research in animals and people show that this treatment has a 25% chance, so 1 in 4 people may see 90% regrowth of hair. So there's a 25% chance of you receiving this benefit, but the benefit is 90% hair regrowth. Some hands are going up.
I'm Jessica. I'm from Michigan. I've had alopecia since I was 10 months old. I feel like if I were to do something like this, infertility would not be an option. I would never do anything that would make me not be able to have children in the future. So if that was something that they said, I would 100% not do it, no matter how much came back.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you. I think we have some hands back here. Or
So, I mean, I'm 15, so yeah, infertility, like, not an option for me because I kind of want kids, sorry. But also, like, liver problems. I'm I'm young. I shouldn't be having liver problems. So, cancer, not really worth my hair. So, and then for it to fall out again if I go through chemo and lose it because of that. So, it's not worth it to me.
Okay, let me take one more, and then I'm going to turn to my FDA colleagues to see if they have any questions as well.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I kind of wanted to piggyback off of what she just said is I don't think that we should have to apologize for not wanting a side effect. We just want a treatment. I shouldn't say, sorry, I do want to have kids. Sorry, I don't want to have cancer. There likely, yes, there is going to be side effects. We're aware of that, but something to this extent to what we're already dealing with is not fair and it's not acceptable. So I don't think that we should have to preface it, our side effects to not be those and apologize for that.
That's a really good point. Thank you so much for sharing. Do my FDA colleagues here at the table, I think Dr. Kendall Marcus?
I first want to make a comment or provide some clarification, and then I just want to sort of build on these types of questions. And I think people understand, but I really don't know to what extent people understand that we regulate drug research. We don't direct drug research. We don't financially invest in drug research. We regulate it. It's very much what I would call, and I've actually been told not to say this before, it's a collaborative relationship with drug sponsors and people developing the drugs. It's really, people don't like it when I say that. Maybe a better word would be interactive. We are experts in drug development. We can give excellent advice to drug sponsors. But two comments have struck me today. One is from the young man who said taking Xeljanz was life-changing because he now has hair everywhere else but his head. And so what I hear from him is a very positive risk-benefit for a treatment that did not work optimally for him. And then the other comment that struck me is your comment just now about risk and benefit, which is what we do on a regular basis. We assess the risks of a product that are administered to patients for any given condition and the benefit that they receive. Successful therapy for different diseases and conditions often build on themselves, and the first success is not necessarily a complete success in terms of getting a drug that is, 100% effective by whatever definition of effective that is used. And it's never 100% safe. When I started working at FDA, I stopped using the term safe and effective and started using risk and benefit. And so I hear all of you in terms of what you want, but as a regulator, we have to make decisions about less than optimal, often less than optimal outcomes. And this is one of the things that we're trying to get a sense of from you. And so, before we convened this meeting, I didn't really understand the importance and the impact of eyebrows, and I think that I've made that clear to people. It's life-changing, and that's quite remarkable to me. And tattoos just don't cut it. It's a workaround, but it's life-changing. And so with that in mind, I hear all of the reaction. I hear the immediate pushback to the scenarios that we're giving you, but these are the types of decisions we have to make if that's the product, if the development program doesn't deliver that 100%. And you really have to start somewhere. You all clearly know, you all painfully know that there are no approved treatments. And if we're all going to continue to try and move forward and work on this, it's helpful for us to understand, what really drill down on is regrowth of your body hair without regrowing your scalp hair. Is that a win? Would you consider that a win? Would you? So yeah, so I'm just providing that to you to give you some of the context for me and what I'd like to hear as we get feedback from these types of scenarios. And Katie, I believe you said something about hair extensions. And so that, I assume that you have to have enough hair regrowth to be able to get hair extensions. Any idea what percentage? I mean, so to me, you've had a win, but it wasn't 90 to 100% regrowth of your hair. But it sounds like it changed your life.
Right. So when I got extensions the first time, I had 100% growth around my head. And it needed to be, in order to work with getting the extensions that I got, which were the glue-on extensions, they go on like probably 25 to 50 pieces of your hair. And it has to be long enough in order to be able to hold the extension. So yeah, you do have to have a certain length, a certain amount of regrowth. But if you only have 75 to 90% with the length and the strength, you can use the extensions and the length of the extensions to cover up whatever you don't get.
Right.
So it was a huge win for me.
Okay. So, yeah. So I don't think I've actually asked a question here. I've just provided you with a comment, but I wanted you all to understand more where we're coming from and what kind of information from you is helpful for us as we try to do our job.
So I know it wasn't a question, but folks still want to respond to your comment, I think. So let's hear what some folks have to say.
Hi, thank you. My son is on Xeljanz and it's been successful. But we realized that there are potential side effects with it, and he sees Dr. King every 6 months, and he has blood work done. And I think that's sufficient for us as parents to know that if that blood work shows something that, shows that there's a liver problem or there's something else, then we will address the situation at the time. So I think if the customer is aware of when he starts taking the drug of the potential side effects, we can deal with it and make the decision there, from there.
Thank you. One or two more comments, and I think we'll have to.
Hi, my name is Ed Reinhardt. I'm the proud father of Katie. I apologize. Kendall, thank you so much for those comments. We're part of the Dr. King fan club. Xeljanz changed our lives, and what I would encourage you, and we came all the way from Yakima, Washington to let the FDA know that Xeljanz is an FDA-approved drug, but it treats pain. And what I would let you know that alopecia is also painful. And I'd really encourage you to open it up, because right now our insurance company doesn't cover Xeljanz. So I have to go to Canada, where right now if I went to the United States, it's $4,000 for 60 tablets. I go to Canada and it's $1,000. Same drug from Pfizer, but we found a way, and it's a miracle drug. And you're right, it's not going to work for everybody, but we also have blood exams every 3-4 months to keep track of it, but it's a start. And we know it's not a solution, but when I look at my daughter, it really has changed her life. So I would encourage the FDA to approve Xeljanz for alopecia. It really make a big difference to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Sure, Kendall.
I just want to make the point again that we regulate drug research. We can't approve a drug without a drug development program and an application. And I hear you. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to help people understand the process. and we're one part of the process, but that's not to discourage you. That's just, I want people to understand our role in all of this. And
thank you, Kendall. I think we have. Yep.
Again, I'm Samantha from Detroit. For me personally, I would be willing to, when I look at all the things that my parents have paid for that are not approved by the FDA, with unknown side effects, with, you know, witch doctors coming out of the blue, you know, with diagnosis and ways to cure alopecia and all the different things that we've gone through, that to at least know what the possible side effects are, to know that I can go and have blood work done and that they can tell me if I'm starting to have gastrointestinal issues or that if I'm starting to have liver issues, and then I can choose to end the treatment is a win for me. To have all these unknowns, and I did them as a child, to have all these unknowns, you know, to try and possibly cure my alopecia, but to know that I have a chance, that I may have a 75% chance or a 90% chance of regrowth, is something I'm willing to do.
Thank you, Samantha. We are cutting it really close on time right now, and we do have to move forward with our open public comment session portion of the afternoon. I just want to make another plug-in for the public docket. You've seen the questions. Change the scenario and send it back to us. Anything that you can expand on, elaborate on, provide us more insight into your daily life and your experience would be very informative and insightful for us here at the FDA. And once again, we will send you this link via email as well. We'll share it with the National Alopecia Areata Foundation. Please send us those comments. We do read them all and incorporate them into our summary report. So at this time, I'd like to turn the mic over to Sarah Eggers, who will facilitate the open public comment portion of the meeting.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the aspect of our, can everyone hear me? No, I think they're, can you hear me now? Okay. Yep. So this is the portion of our program where particularly if you, you signed up, we have 16 people have signed up. We want to make sure we get you out on time and so that you can, we can wrap up the meeting. So we're going to ask everyone to please stick to 2 minutes, and I will have to stop you. Hopefully, if you're a self-advocate or a parent in the room, what you have said is resonating with what others have said. You can strike yourself off of this, and that will make sure that everyone gets their time. As we did earlier, if you could please disclose whether your participation has been supported financially, or if you have a financial stake in any kind of drug development for alopecia areata, or if you are associated with any organizations that have an interest in an alopecia areata. That would be helpful for us for disclosure. So we are going to go through this list. I'm actually going to ask you to go to the microphones if you're able to. We might have a couple people, a couple kids who are a little, Rosie's good? Okay, okay. If you can, we have so many folks today, so come to the microphones. I'm going to actually call you out right now. I'm going to call Ember Hibbert, Jonathan, and Jennifer Yeasley, and Dr. Michael Sierra to start to come up to the front. Come up to those microphones that are there, and just stand in line, and we'll start with you, and then I'll call up another round.
I'm Jonathan Yeagley. Should I just start?
Yeah, is Ember here? We'll start with Jonathan, and then Ember, if you want to come up, you go ahead.
Okay. My name is John Yeagley. I'm from Berwyn, Pennsylvania. Mr. Reinhardt, we're all big fans of Dr. King. My son got alopecia in 7th grade. In March of 2016, we found Dr. King. He started us on Celjan. By Christmas of that year, he was able to take off his hairpiece. We went through all the topicals, the injections, and we couldn't be more happy with the effect that Celjan has had on us. I'm amazed that they haven't gone through I don't know if it's in trial now or it hasn't progressed any further. But Mr. Reinhardt hooked me up with a doctor in Canada who wrote a prescription for us. I travel 7 hours. I drive 7 hours to Buffalo, cross a bridge, go half a mile to a Walmart to buy the drug, it costs me $1,250 a month as opposed to $3,900 a month where at our local drugstore. That's $15,000 a year versus $47,000 a year in the United States, which I think is just outrageous. Insurance, we have a good insurance plan. Our insurance does not cover it. And I think that's, part of the fact that, it's a horrible disease. My son will tell you he's had a, horrible experience with it, but we have to make medicine more affordable. That's not, I realize that's not the purview of the FDA, but the only, we have to speak out about it.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jonathan as well. In second grade, I was first diagnosed with alopecia, and then it slowly grew back a little bit. But by 6th or 7th grade, I had to wear a hairpiece. And until last semester, I'm 19 years old, I'm a sophomore in college, and last semester was the first time I could finally go without my hairpiece. So I went all through high school, all through 7th and 8th grade with my hairpiece, and as many of you people know, it's just awful. People look at you like all the time, like I'm still paranoid that people are constantly looking at me. And I thought last semester that everything would be fixed right away when I have all my hair back, which is not true. It takes a lot of time to grow from being shy and just trying to seclude myself all the time. And it's slowly getting better, but it is a slow progress. And I know that you guys can't have Xeljanz just affordable like that, but it has changed my life. I thought it would change right away, but it's slow progress, and I sort of feel guilty that I'm one of the few people in here able to have this drug. And I really wish it would be affordable for everyone because I know what you guys are going through, and I feel that one day there's going to be a solution. Just hang in there, and I want to thank you, Dr. King, for really being the man, helping me out.
Thank you, Jonathan. Ember, would you like to say something?
This is Ember. She's 12 years old. She's had about 3 years. And I have to say the hardest part is trying to get the wigs. The insurance will not cover it unless it is a hair loss due to chemotherapy. And all the wigs for kids and everything, you can only get one a year. She's a child. She plays volleyball. It's a pain in the butt. But we're making the best. And was anything? No? Okay. You're good.
Thank you, Ember. And if I can point out, Ember and her family have been here. Ember and her family have been here. They were the first to arrive today, and it was just such a sight, such a pleasant sight to see such enthusiasm for this meeting, starting with Ember and her family, who came, I believe, at around 11 o'clock. So, okay. Yes, and you are Michael Sierra.
Yep. How are you doing? I work for Leo Pharma. I'm here not only to represent Leo, but also I have alopecia. I had it since 2005, shaved my head in 2006, and it's been moving around ever since. Lost an eyebrow, and the fingernails are starting. I think it's a real privilege to be here and be talking about alopecia. I know, at least in Leo, used a lot of time to push for looking at not only the other skin indications we're looking at, but also alopecia. We have a JAK inhibitor that's in development, and we're looking at potentially systemic antibodies and biologics that could be used in treatment. We've been associated with the NAF since 2014, and I'm not really, I'm in a position now where my hair doesn't really bother me. But the stories that I've heard today from these young people and adults really moves me. And I know that you've probably been as moved as much. And I think that it's really necessary that we as the pharmaceutical industry and also the FDA look at how we can bring treatments to really support and help these families moving forward. Thank you.
And now we have Callie and Jamie. Callie and Jamie C.
Hi, I'm Callie. I'm a terrible speaker and I'm really nervous, so I apologize in advance. I lost all my hair by the age of 3. I started wearing my first wig in first grade. I went through years of kids tearing off my wigs and my hats. By the age of 15, I was so severely depressed that I attempted suicide. Luckily, it wasn't successful. I still struggle daily with anxiety and depression. About 3 years ago, my dad found an article about Dr. King and Xeljanz and reached out to him, and we started seeing him, and he prescribed Xeljanz, and this is the first time that I've ever had any hair growth at all. And for me, just the eyebrows and eyelashes was like completely life-changing. So also a part of the Dr. King fan club. But that's all I want to say.
I'm also nervous. I'm Callie's dad. This has been a long journey of treatments that didn't work. People talked about which doctor. I don't even call them treatments. And I think this is where the FDA can really come in, where we recognize that you can't recommend drugs, or you can't. I think one of the things that's really important is to possibly sort of influence the pharmaceutical community to do research. JAK inhibition works. There's an opportunity for expanding upon the work that's been done by Pfizer, and I think the opportunity for doctors like Dr. King to promote these types of things and move forward to sort of stimulate this research, I think is real instrumental for what the FDA can possibly do. It's been life-changing for Callie, even though she still does not have total hair growth on her head, but she does have hair growth. And the eyebrows and eyelashes, it's been amazing. It's been life-changing for her. And it's really important, I think, to try to influence the research that's being done. We understood last night from Dr. Cristiano that there's actually work being done with NIH funding some of this sort of stuff. So I think this is something where the FDA can come in and sort of stimulate this opportunity to do more research in this area of things that actually work. Because we've seen all the things that don't work, from tar ointments on the scalp to, I mean, just unbelievable things that you can't even imagine, or not even scientific. And it's just like, are you kidding me? And as a parent, you just shake your head. You just can't understand it. But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. We have Dory Krantz. Dory Krantz. Dory Krantz.
I'm the Dory. My name's Dory Krantz, and I am CEO of the National Alopecia Areata Foundation. It's a nonprofit voluntary health agency serving the 6.8 million people, we have different numbers than you guys do, in the US that either have had or will experience alopecia areata in their lifetime based on a 2.1% lifetime risk. I'm also a board member of the National Health Council, which is the united patient voice for more than 133 million Americans living with chronic disease or disability. And on behalf of both organizations, I thank you, the FDA, for recognizing the importance of bringing the voice of the patient into your benefit risk process for new treatments. It's heartening, and we are really grateful for the whole PFDD initiative. You've already heard from the most important participants, the people who live with alopecia areata, but as a patient advocate, I just wanted to reinforce some of the things that we're hearing from the community and that are documented in a paper entitled "Alopecia Areata is a Medical Disease. that was just accepted for publication by the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology. And when it is published, I'm going to share it with you. Alopecia areata is life-altering medical disease. It's an autoimmune disease, and it warrants treatment like any other autoimmune disease. There is a large unmet need for safe and effective treatments. And as you've heard today, it has a profound impact on quality of life. Rates of depression and anxiety are high, and the psychosocial impacts affect choices about participation in sports, educational attainment, career path, social contacts, and intimacy, as you heard today. And because of the significant nature of the psychosocial impacts and the proven effectiveness of integrated behavioral health in primary care, we're working to have behavioral health integrated into dermatologic care, not just for alopecia areata, but for all diseases that have a high psychosocial burden. And lastly, I wanted to tell you, the FDA, that preparing for this meeting, from the moment we knew that it was a possibility in 2012, has changed the way that we as a patient advocacy group engage patients in our work for the better, including in our partnership with industry on treatment development. So even before we got to this meeting helped our community to find its voice in the research and treatment development process. And one specific example, we are grateful to be working with the FDA, as well as patients, industry partners, key opinion leaders, and treatment health economics outcomes research experts on the development of a patient-reported outcome instrument that this meeting will inform, as well as many other things, to demonstrate the patient benefit to payers so that treatments are covered by insurance and accessible and affordable for everyone who needs them. So anyway, thank you for this whole initiative and this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dory. We have Gary Sherwood. Gary Sherwood. Mason McGuire is on deck.
I'm Gary Sherwood. I'm NAF's Communications Director. I'll keep it brief. I have never been so proud of this community as I have been today. It's been an absolute privilege just to be in the same room with all of you, and you all just make me so proud of what NAF does every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Mason. Abby is up next.
I'm Mason McGuire. I was diagnosed with alopecia when I was about a year old, and it was really hard going through all the treatments. When I was about 13, I went through and had the cortico injections into my head and the topical solutions, and I saw little to no success at that. When I was 15, my mother found Dr. King, and we got an appointment over there and got on the drug Xeljanz, and it was completely life-changing. I haven't seen much eyebrows or eyelashes came back in, but my scalp has, for the most part, came back in, so I'd like to thank Dr. King for that.
We have Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm a legislative liaison with NAF, and my dad used to be on the board. I'm from Louisiana, and I lost all of I got patchy alopecia when I was 6, and I started getting the steroid injections, but they actually made my hair fall out faster, which is something I don't know if anyone said today, but I have heard that from other people. Since I was 6, I haven't had any hair regrowth, but I didn't lose my eyelashes till I was in high school. So that was, I never had eyebrows really after I was 6, but that was something pretty traumatic because I kind of held on to my eyelashes and would put a lot of mascara on them, and then I felt like my face had no definition after that. And another thing I wanted to touch on was like the wig costs. So the medicine is super expensive. I may be willing to take it if I knew that maybe 90% of my hair would grow back. But I have chosen to wear wigs. I didn't from the age of 6 to 19. But now I work abroad in international development and I interact with a lot of people, and so I've chosen to. But the wigs are around $4,000 to $5,000, and you have to get a new one. I mean, you don't have to, but every 2 to 3 years. There are less expensive wigs, but these are like regular hair wigs, or I mean, human hair wigs. So you can you can do anything with them that you want, whereas with synthetic you can't do as much. So that's something they're not covered by insurance for the most part. And I'm really fortunate that I can afford that, but I know that so many people aren't. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We have Sally Alterman. Sally Alterman.
Hi, I'm Sally. I was diagnosed when I was 56 and I'm 67. My issue for this group is, number one, I would like to salute all the parents because your support of your children and you're giving them of their self-worth and their self-image and their self-concept is the most important thing of all. I think that, I think I'm losing my voice. I think that after you listen to the heartfelt thoughts of the people that have alopecia for hours, sometimes you get a little numb to that. And I would like to be sure that everybody goes home and really thinks back upon the pain and the heartfelt admissions that are coming from the people in this room. And if we can do anything to help these children that have to go through the social media, that have to go home and look at their emails and look at their cell phones and listen to the bullying, and they can never escape this. And this is really the biggest issue that I think needs to be addressed today that hasn't really been hit.
Thank you. We have Sarah Seward, or Seward, sorry.
Hi. Sorry. Hi, I'm Sarah Stewart. I am a legislative liaison with NAF. I think the biggest thing, sorry, it's going to happen. I think the biggest thing today that I thought I was in a much better place than I am. Today ripped off a Band-Aid that I thought I was dealing with. I thought I had a grasp on this unpredictable disease. I was diagnosed when I was 21. I lost all my hair in 2 weeks. I am a grower and I'm a shedder. So I lose in patches. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
I lose it in patches, and then it grows back, and then I lose it again, and it grows back. So I'm on this crazy, crazy roller coaster that we're all on. I am on a pretty strict 3-month cycle. I do have other autoimmune diseases. Thank you. So with me, I can kind of feel when it's going to happen. My lymph nodes swell up to the size of golf balls, and I always get sick. Like I always get a cold, and then I know that it's going to happen. Alopecia changed my life in the sense that when I was first diagnosed, I was a hairdresser, and I changed my complete career because I was told that I needed to wear a wig to work in order for my clients to trust me. I went through a deep depression. I didn't know who I was. I didn't feel like a woman anymore. I had it taken away from me, and I let it be taken away from me. I attempted to commit suicide and was at a peak low until I found NAF. The National Alopecia Areata Foundation saved my life. Every single one of you had a part of saving my life. My biggest thing today is that I look around and I see all of these children, and I think about what I went through at the age of 21, and I cannot even imagine to put myself into their shoes and how strong they are. But the thing is that we're human, and we don't always have to be strong. We think that we just have to put on this front for everyone, and it's not necessary. We can do this together, and there's a lot of us, and we all need to have that support behind us. And I'm just so grateful for this experience. And I've heard a lot of people talk about these life-changing experiences. And being a legislative liaison, this is something that we worked for from the beginning. And here we are. This, for me, is a life-changing experience right now. And I am so grateful.
Lori Jacoby.
Lori, not Dory. Hi, my name is Lori Jacoby. I'm from California. I am a legislative liaison and an advocacy committee member with the National Alopecia Areata Foundation. I want to thank Gary and all of the great folks with NAF. They've made me a stronger person. At age 52, 13 years ago, my hair started to fall out. At 1 month into it, I had to get a wig. I couldn't work in a profession where I was at a university without being more professional. Within 3 months, all the hair on my body was gone and my life had changed forever. I eventually lost that job, and it didn't ever dawn on me that it was probably due to my appearance, but in retrospect, that was probably what was going on with that. I have since finished my bachelor's, my master's. I got 6 certificates in human resources. I finished my teaching English as a second language. And I passed my CBEST test. And I never had the chance to really get into education because I always had to be the provider of benefits with a full-time job, so I couldn't do the student teaching. I eventually did retire this past year, and we've moved to a new community where I feel confident enough in my new community to go out in public without my wig. It's funny how when you're in one scenario with all the friends you've always known, and even if they know you wear a wig, it's hard to be you in public in that scenario. In my new home, in a new community, I feel okay to be myself now, and that feels really good. Also, over the past couple months, I've become a substitute teacher in my retired life, and it's great to be able to go into the school with my cap on, or if I get too hot, I can take my cap off, and the kids go, "What happened to your hair?" And I go, "I don't know, it just fell out." And then they go, "Oh, okay," and they go on with their life. But I feel like I'm giving them maybe some inspiration, maybe some diversity training that hopefully things will come to an end. But thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Karen and Marianne, you still have Karen and Marianne?
Make it really quick. Everyone else said amazing things, and thank you for everything that you've all said. My son was diagnosed when he was 16. He's now 24. He did lose everything, but now it's almost all regrown. It's about 80–90% regrown. So I guess what I would say to add to what's already been said is just that for those who have the patchiness, if there's any type of treatment that could help fill in, those remaining spots, that would be safe. That's the main thing I wanted to say is I think my son wouldn't opt for anything that's risky to the immune system, but if there was some type of drug that could come out that was very, very safe, because just he wouldn't want to risk all those side effects.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then I have Cheryl. There's. Oh, okay, so.
It's kind of low here. I just want to thank you for everything today and the opportunity to see what a wonderful group we have and how they've all come together. My daughter's 24, diagnosed at 14. She's in Florida. Wish she could be here with us. She's safe, but she has alopecia universalis. It started like pretty much everybody else's. A lot of it just fell out, and she had alopecia universalis at 16. The torture, the stuff she's been through, and all the kids that just nasty. It's more than any child should ever have to go through. But at this point, she's dealt with it. She's struggled through it, and she's at the point in her life now where she wears wigs. She doesn't wear wigs. It's back and forth. It differs. Whatever day it is, it depends on how she feels. She's tattooed her eyebrows. She has tattooed her eyeliner just because she doesn't want to be able to have to. You wipe your forehead. You don't realize you wipe off your eyebrows. So for her, that was important. So she did get her eyebrows back. She got her eyelashes back. That would be a big bonus to her, but not if it were something that meant that she was going to have all kinds of issues with her immune system. So that's really important to her. At this point, she's going to be 25, and when she gets to 26, she's going to have to start paying for it. And if it's not something that a child can afford or a lot of other people can afford, what is the point? Because if it's not covered, those are things that are very important to us, as well as the effectiveness and the fact that it doesn't cause problems from an autoimmune standpoint, other issues. I appreciate it, and thanks for everything today.
We have Cheryl. I have just Cheryl. I don't have a last name. Okay. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi. You've already heard from me today, and I'm going to keep it short because I know we all want to get back on the road and go home. Guys of the FDA, I would just implore you to research and find an acceptable treatment that doesn't have all the side effects, and also something that's going to be covered. Because a lot of us don't have the money to pay for $3,500 a month for a medication that might not even work for everyone. I mean, I'm not going to put out that money if I don't know it's going to work. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
That is what I have on the open public comment. And so with that, I will turn it over to Tatiana. I will remind you that we have evaluation forms, and we very much appreciate all the feedback we get. So thank you very much.
Oh, wow, what a meeting.
Excuse me. Sorry, I didn't sign up for the for the open public comment. Is it okay if I make one quick comment?
Sure.
Some guru again. My daughter is 8. She had alopecia when she was 2. I heard a lot of parents talk today, and I don't want to repeat what they said. I can relate to everything. And I also heard a lot of excitement and some life-changing stories from young adults and adolescents about JAK inhibitors, and it's great that that's in development. But I really hope I'm not in the minority here. As a parent of a child who's still young, my daughter is 8, I would be concerned if the only drug that's under development is something that I have to give my daughter every single day for the rest of her life. I would be concerned if the unpredictability of the disease does not get addressed. I really wish that there is more research into fundamental understanding of autoimmunity and to ultimately fix or reverse the cause of this condition. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And in my closing remarks, I just wanted to say that I think this was a very important meeting for all participants, including FDA, patients, researchers, and industry representatives. This meeting as we do. For us here at the FDA, it was a very good, very informative meeting, and I would like to thank you all for participating in this meeting today, for sharing your personal stories, your experience and perspectives. The psychological impact of the disease, as you described today, is enormous, and the need to develop therapies is immense for alopecia areata, and we understand that. We look forward to incorporating what we've learned today into the agency's thinking and understanding of how patients view benefits and risks of alopecia areata treatments. We're also looking forward to receiving common sense suggestions from you all, from the industry, academia, patients, advocates. And these suggestions and comments will further inform our decision-making process while we move forward with developing new treatments for alopecia areata, and it will benefit our collaborative efforts in the area of new drug development for alopecia areata. And I would like to assure you that all your voices were heard today, and I'm sure that other players in drug development process heard you as well. The need for more therapeutic options for all age groups is evident, and I'm hopeful that the combined efforts of researchers, the industry, and the FDA one day we will provide the patients with an effective treatment option. Thank you all, and I wish you safe travel back home.